Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We're back again today, right before we have our preview content for the Ross County game on Saturday. Some different wee stories to run through today. It's like a bulletin, you know, there's a number of things to talk about, including some big changes that will affect Celtic in European football. So all that and more in today's video. Yes, yesterday I said I'd drop my pants for content, and here we are. We've got some content. Just know that I will not be dropping my pants. That's not happening. Right, before we get into today's video, as always, make sure to hit like and subscribe. We're trying to get to 40,000 subscribers as soon as we possibly can. So if you haven't already, please hit that big red subscribe button below. It's absolutely free. Hit the like button as well when you're down there. And let's talk about all the news involving Celtic today. So let's get the first wee bit of news out the way very quickly, because this is a quick one. We don't need to talk about it too much. Celtic announced this morning that the game against Hearts that was scheduled for the 20th of August has been moved. It's been rescheduled. It will still be a 3 o'clock kickoff, but instead of Saturday the 20th, it will be Sunday the 21st at the end of this month. This is obviously to accommodate Hearts' European football at the moment. They'll be playing on Thursdays, which means that they need to compete in the league domestically on a Sunday, just like it was with Celtic when we were playing in the Europa League and the Conference League last season. Annoying, to say the least, because I was hoping we'd see no Sunday games this season. And already we've been smacked with 2 on the opening game of the weekend, the 4:30 Sunday kickoff. And now this game against Hearts. I hate the Sunday games. I don't know about you, but especially when you're rough, you know, and that's self-inflicted, I know, but I just hate... Sunday's a day of rest. The Lord made Sunday the day of rest. I'm not meant to be leaving my bed on a Sunday, but... you know, I'll have to do it. 3 o'clock, it's been moved to on the 21st of August. There you go. That's the first thing to talk about very quickly. Just in case you missed that, don't turn up to Celtic Park on a Saturday because you will be bitterly disappointed. But let's talk about European football on that note. Let's talk about some major changes that are going to be implemented to the Champions League this season, which will affect Celtic. Some very big news that broke this morning, that there will be more technology used in the Champions League throughout the 22-23 campaign on top of the already there VAR. We will have a new system in place to try and correct offside decisions, ones that may get, you know, not called wrong or not called at all. A new system in place to make it a more efficient process, a more correct process, you could say. It takes away the human implement of mistake, and we're replacing it with AI. Robots are taking over.
Back, you robot! Nobody ruins my family vacation but me! And maybe the boy!
Of course, it's another branch of technology that spawns off everything that we already have in football. We've got VAR, we've got goal line technology. This is a sort of next step. You know my opinions towards technology in football. I like some aspects of it. I don't mind goal line technology. I think that's very fair. We need that. You know me, if you've watched me long enough, I'm not a massive fan of VAR for the way that it affects the game. But now UEFA have announced that there will be a semi-automated offside technology that will be utilised in the Champions League group stages this season. It's called SAOT, which will be used for the first time in Champions League history. It was used earlier this year in the Club World Cup and wasn't supposed to be used again until Qatar 2022. However, they have ushered it in for the group stages of this competition to help correct decisions that have been made wrong over the past couple of years in the Champions League. Well, your thoughts? More technology being added in to European competition, something that we'll probably see implemented to domestic competition over the next few years, especially in England, for example, Germany, the bigger leagues. I don't imagine we'll see it in Scotland anytime soon, but this will certainly be our first taste of it, unless you've watched the Club World Cup earlier in the year, which I don't imagine many of you did. It'll be a first time experience for a lot of us, so I'm quite intrigued in how it will work. So how does it work? So the story that was broke by ESPN and has now been kind of ran by every sort of publication there is, they quoted, a sensor will be placed in the centre of the match ball, recording data 500 times a second to detect when the ball has been kicked. All players will be mapped to create an AI model of their position, a similar method to goal line technology. The time needed to make a VAR offside decision should be reduced from an average of 70 seconds to 25 seconds, while fans inside the stadium and viewers watching on television will be provided with a 3D animation to clearly show the offside. So it's replacing referee VAR calls for offsides, which we've seen get wrong or right from time to time. It's going to make the decisions more accurate. It's going to make them quicker. I think that's the main thing. The fact that it's been reduced from 70 seconds to 25 seconds. There was a lot of technical jargon in that statement I just read there. A lot of technical stuff that I won't understand as much as, you know, the professionals and the ones who've got the kind of process mapped down to a T. But essentially, you know, it's going to be a computerized system which will help the referee basically. It takes his job away from making the final decision, because the AI, the computer itself, will apparently be able to determine whether or not it is or not offside. This should offer the most accurate decision possible, rather than humans having the chance to make a mistake. So yeah, it is, reading that, it annoys me in a sense where I'm like, oh, that's, football's becoming a computerized sort of sport. But I think the main thing that you can take away from it is that decision time. The fact that it is going to be reduced from 70 to 25 seconds. Now, as Celtic fans, we've not had a lot of experiences with VAR calls. There's been a couple at Celtic Park since they implemented it in the Europa League knockout stages. Remember the penalty against Copenhagen? We had the penalty away at Bayer Leverkusen. Those are the two that come to mind. But I can never really remember off the top of my head an offside call in the stadium. I've never been there for an offside decision. But when you watch the Premier League and you watch European football at home, it's ridiculous the amount of time that they take to determine whether or not it's offside or not. You think it's a case of just walking up to the computer screen, seeing if he's offside or not, and then saying yes or no. But you know what it's like? They get the lines out. Not in that way. They draw the lines. They make sure that their elbow isn't an inch off. Their big toe isn't over the line. They really do rip the arse right out of it. But this AI, in the space of 25 seconds, should be able to decide whether or not the goal is on or offside. So I'm all for it. I think it's a better idea than having referees make more mistakes on top of mistakes they've probably already made in the lead up or in the game itself. You know, we're going to get to the point in football where there probably won't be a need for linesmen. Maybe even a referee. When you hear all of this talk on AI models and mapping player positions and putting chips in the middle of balls and all the rest of it, when you hear all of that, you know, it's going to get to the point where football is going to become a sport that will be completely refereed by computers. That's the direction we're sort of heading in here. So they're doing the job. They're deciding for the referee whether or not the goal is onside or offside. So I guess it eliminates the need for human error. So there you go. Your opinions on that. Another update in the ever-evolving sport that is football. And we'll get to see it firsthand at Celtic Park if there is any close decisions to make when it comes to offsides. So let's talk about transfer news. We've not got any updates yet on players who could be coming into the club. We're still waiting. Of course, Ange Postecoglou did provide us with a brief update saying he was looking to add more, I think early last week. We've not heard anything since, not even a peep in terms of players that we're linked with. But one story that did break today was that Celtic were offered the chance to sign winger Said Haksabanovic from Rubin Kazan earlier in the window, which they decided to turn down. And the name Said Haksabanovic might be one for long-term viewers on this channel that rings a bell. Got this guy. If you're playing Football Manager and you have the Swedish League turned on, sign him. Haksabanovic. You'll never regret it. Just trust me. You'll never regret it. He played for West Ham a few years ago, so you might recognise his name from there. But before he signed for West Ham, if you dig deep enough on this channel, he was a player who I wanted Celtic to sign very much a few years ago before he got that big move. The big move didn't really work out for him. He got 2 appearances at West Ham and he moved out on loan deals from there, ended up joining Rubin Kazan, and now he's still there. But a few years ago, I was crying out for Celtic to sign him, because if you watched one of the original Football Manager series on this channel, he was a player for my Celtic team who was unbelievable. And of course, if they're good in FM, they're good in real life. That's how it works, isn't it? And I was saying Celtic should look at him, Celtic should go for him, because he was a talented player, and it's the reason he got a move to West Ham. You know, he was a guy who had a decent looking profile around him. The move didn't obviously happen to Celtic because, you know, I was the one that was suggesting that there was no concrete to it. But apparently, in this transfer window, Celtic were offered the opportunity. Reports from Russia suggested that he was offered out to Celtic, but Celtic abandoned the idea of signing the player apparently reasons to do with the transactions in the Carl Starfelt transfer, because remember, we signed Carl Starfelt from Rubin Kazan this time last year. Same club, would be the same process. Apparently there was problems with some of the transactions and fees and such with that transfer, and Celtic abandoned the idea of signing Said Haksabanovic. So there's not really much to it, but I'm kind of gutted. I would have liked to have seen him come to Celtic, and he looks a talented player. A Montenegrin international, capped 28 times. I think he's also got Swedish heritage as well, but he chose to play for Montenegro. He looks a talented player, and it looks as though he's been doing decently enough in Russia as well. But of course, Celtic not so much a fan of the idea and decided to abandon the transfer. I said he'd done decent enough in Russia a moment ago. I would like to correct myself, because he moved to Russia last summer and his season was actually interrupted with, of course, the Russian invasion of Ukraine. So he's had a bit of a stop-start career since his move to West Ham, with loan deals, and had a time cut short in Sweden. And of course, with that happening over in Russia, he had his contract suspended, but he remains there at the moment, it looks like. If the reports are to be believed, which, you know, it could be nonsense. Let's just throw that out there straight away. Take it all with a pinch of salt. If they have been offered, I wonder if it means Celtic are still in the market for a winger or someone in the attacking areas. Of course, if Celtic have said no to it, then it might mean they have no interest at all in bringing in someone in that area. But, you know, this is a guy who would have cost a fair bit of money anyway, because he moved to Rubin Kazan for €6.5 million. And I'd imagine they'd be looking to make the majority of their money back on the player, despite it being a season for him which was ended by politics. So I don't think Celtic would have been out to spend anywhere near the region of €6.5 million, which would be about £5.5 million. We've just spent £6 million on Jota, for example. We've also brought in Dyson Maeda for a couple of £1 million. We've spent big in a couple of aspects this window. I don't think we would have been anywhere near of that. But listen, we don't need to bring in a winger of that quality. As much as I said I'm a wee bit gutted because I recognise the name and I like the idea of signing him years ago, if we went out and spent that much money on another winger, it would have, I think that would have made even more of a headache in our rotation options, and you'd have to play someone like that spending that money. So we've probably done a good job avoiding that. It's probably reasons that are justified that we have abandoned the transfer. Who knows, it might be a name that pops up again sometime in the future, but that was the reports. It was one that went quiet throughout the window, and it just makes you think, yeah? We've heard nothing since Ange made those comments. Does it mean that there are some deals very quietly getting done at Celtic Park at the moment? Food for thought. I don't know. There you go. And finally for today, the Green Brigade released a statement to do with their full stadium display on Sunday, which was a roaring success. £22,000 was raised, I think. Well, I think it's currently sitting around £26,000, but they released a statement talking about how it was a success and they appreciate the efforts to donate to the funds. Of course, when they put up the appeal to raise some money for that full stadium display, they said they were aiming to do 2 this season. So excitement for Celtic fans as we wait for perhaps another full stadium display this season. Don't know when it'll be. Maybe it'll be right at the end. Maybe it'll be in a derby game, a European game. But yeah, another fantastic sort of endorsement of Celtic fans, isn't it? How well that we kind of came together to raise almost £30,000 for the cause of all of this, and the tifo looked fantastic. It was well worth it. The time and effort that was spent on it, I think that they said in the statement that they spent 38 hours across 7 days to put together the display and the tifo that was shown at the weekend, which is unbelievable. So fair play to them, but fantastic, and everybody was holding up their bits of tifo with pride on Sunday as the team walked out. It was great, fantastic, and hopefully the next one will be as good. And that does it for today. As I said, more of a bulletin sort of thing. No big stories. Well, the one about the European football is actually quite big. That VAR, or sorry, SAOT implementation, yes, will be an interesting one to watch over the course of the group stages and further this year. So yeah, we can only wait with anxiety, anticipation, all those emotions to see what it will be like. Yeah, but just a few news updates today for the video. We'll be back tomorrow previewing Ross County on Saturday, and then of course Saturday we'll be reviewing the game, and hopefully there'll be a podcast out as well before I go on my holidays next week. So yeah, that'll do it. Make sure to hit like and subscribe. I hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time.